Hello everybody, Michael Swaim here from Team Papa Bear with a long, Abe just cut that and add a bunch more longs there. Long overdue update on the project, how it's going, why you haven't seen the results we'd hoped as quickly as we'd hoped, and what's the deal with all that. Just so I don't take up too much of your time, I'm gonna do a little table of contents intro here, and then I'll also put some time codes or labels at the bottom throughout to help you navigate to just the information you're most interested in. For people who are interested, I'm gonna give you the long, still concise, but longish version of the whole story of what happened from the fateful moment that the Seed and Spark funding campaign was a huge success and we were so thrilled and grateful, to now where we're still thrilled and grateful, but other new different situations have come to light and there's lots of ins and lots of outs and stuff is happening. I'll also share a little bit about the team's travails and how we feel about how things went. If you're interested in some of the difficulties with making independent film, I'll have a little insight into that. It's not going to be a whole essay, but if you are someone who's followed our journey as creatives, I'll update you on that throughout, but with a special focus on Papa Bear, of course, where it's at, how we ended up, where we're at, why it's not in your hands yet. Once I've told the whole kit and caboodle, I'll do a TLDR version that's just very focused on here's what happened vis-a-vis the money you so graciously put into the pot for Papa Bear. And either way, after both those chunks, you'll end up at a point in the video where I give you the current status of the project, our efforts, what's going to happen next, which is fairly exciting. And then hopefully to get you to see through to the end, I will end with some shameless plugs, but more importantly, some freebies. Just my way, I haven't run this by Abe, so I'll say my instead of ours, to try and make it right. Totally unrelated to Papa Bear, but I have some free stuff I'll offer people who have put money into the pot above and beyond the incentives, which we still hope to, for the most part, deliver as promised, although not on the timeline that we promised, which has become clear, I think, to everyone by this point. All right, so the long version, but not too long, is that when we first launched the Papa Bear crowdfunding campaign on Seed and Spark, we had actually asked Seed and Spark if we could put the ceiling much higher because we'd calculated how much money we needed to produce the script, and we wanted to ask for that much money, and if we didn't get it, we would know that we can't make the film. Seed and Spark, and I'm not blaming them or anyone in particular along this chain of events. I'm just telling you how it went down. They were like, you're not going to get that much. Fair enough, probably true. So we lowered it to, I believe, 65K was our benchmark, which the community came out for us, and we went significantly above that. But we had done that because behind the scenes, we had actually, of course, for a long time been working to cobble together our own independent funding from friends, well-wishers, rich furries who might be interested in the story, relatives, cold calls, just any people who are fans, you know, that we've picked up along the way who happen to have the means and be interested in helping to produce independent film or really believe in myself or other members of the team. And so we had money, but we didn't have it. Like, I didn't have it stacked up somewhere. What we had was some money stacked up, yes. And we were in process of many investor contracts, people who were giving us money just out of the goodness of their heart, all the way to people who were giving us larger chunks of money in order to be part of the production process, an executive producer, what have you. This is how it works, right? We assemble all these different sources of money. Now, without outing the person in any way, we had one investor who technically had not signed paperwork, and that's true, but we had met in real time, not in person because they lived in the middle of the country, but we'd met many times in good faith, spoken at length. They seemed genuinely eager to want to actually involve their own company in the production of the film, which would have been appropriate, but I'm not even going to say like what their company did. And they checked out as far as they were a real person with a real identity, and it made sense they could have the money they were offering us. And when we came to crowdfund, our math was based on having that. So the amount that we were hoping to gain through crowdfunding was essentially not just finishing funds, but in terms of the film we wanted to make, which is to say, to do it right, as it were. Fans may know we've made one horror movie, Kill Me Now, super zero budget. The whole movie was made for 79 grand decade plus ago. So that's just not possible with just the amount of money we crowdfunded, which was similar, about like 71 grand. So that major investor, to the tune of $100 and some thousand, pulled out. And by pulled out, I mean just suddenly started ghosting us, even though I have this person's phone number, email, everything. I could never reach them again. I hope they're okay. I don't know them well enough through like friend of a friend. It was an investor type, not a close friends and family type person. But if you're out there and see this, we'd love just to know that you're fine. We're not mad. I hope you're alive. But regardless, to everyone else watching this, shortly after we were successfully crowdfunded on Seed and Spark, thanks to all you lovely winners out there, we were faced with a set of two choices. Either do it, quote unquote, the wrong way, which is to say, compromise everything about the story and the script as you may have encountered it over the course of this process to make something zero budget, which is still tens to $100,000. And it would involve people know what I'm talking about. Something like Clerks, or a Bottle episode where the only two characters are the father and son, and the scene is they're trapped in an elevator in real time for 90 minutes, and the dad tells the son that he's a furry, and we get to fall out of that, and I play my own father. I'd have to grow the beard back, but you get it. I work for free, Abe works for free. It doesn't look like we wanted, but at least we made something. Rather than pull that ripcord, and I will say I'm the one who was most ready to pull that ripcord, I think because as a writer, actor type, my work can shine anyway. But production elements, Abe included, really think that we deserve to do a real movie. And by real movie, I mean a movie where we're not rushed. And Abe and I get to act like the Coen brothers and decide what the shot will look like based on what we want it to mean, and have a small, affordable team of people we trust execute that shot so it ends up looking like a planned event, like a comic book, if you will, or like moving pictures. And there's music too. We decided to stick it out, try to make the film quote unquote the correct way, which meant we have to replace this money. We have to get more money. So we set about trying to get more money, and the first way we did that was through a company called Slated. And this is where I'm going to start to editorialize a little and just say that entertainment is a hideous bitch goddess and Hollywood is a cesspit. Or I've had especially bad luck, but it's also the dream factory. Everything is true, very messy and complicated, but very discouraging, especially at this point in time. And I mean the last 35 years, but especially the last 3 years. It just seems to get worse and worse, as a lot of industries are under late-stage capitalism. But certainly, even if you're just a layman-style film buff, you might have heard that it's harder to make a mid-budget independent film than ever. And I really do lay the evil of the industry as I see it more at the feet of abstract systems that form between groups of human beings, and that's what makes it so tough to dismantle. But suffice to say, there are these companies out there, Slated being one of them, where you can give them some money, and it's like in our case, 10% of our remaining budget, which is our crowdfunding and our odds and ends budget, goes to them with the promise that they are the middlemen who know everyone, who does have the money, and they have a long track record. You can look them up. They have many success stories of attaching stars to projects, getting films made, blah, blah, blah. And that's true. You can get your project featured by Slated, and it can lead to your film getting produced. But at the end of the day, what these companies can realistically offer even an experienced team with some clout like ours, at best, is normally you're scratching a lotto ticket where the odds of winning are 1 in a million. We can narrow that to 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 200. So certainly, every year, every quarter, they're producing good projects, and that's great. Nevertheless, the mode, or like the most common experience an independent film team will have with a company like Slated is that they sliver off, the scanty little budget that they were able to put together. Slated spends 6 months chatting behind essentially closed doors and then tells you we weren't able, no one was interested in it. Suck it up like any other rejection. However, unlike any other rejection, for example, the blacklist, or for example, going to an audition as an actor, it cost you thousands of dollars, and now you're even poorer for it. So, without ever tapping into the crowdfunding money, which we still haven't to this day, you slivered off some of the budget that we had accrued to try the Slated system. It did not work for us. And then to try a similar system through a company called Buffalo 8. Did not work for us. And I'm not saying, I said what I want to say. Did not work for us. Statistically speaking, will not help most of the people they take money from. It's a complicated issue. And to explore that in the depth of its fullness is not why we're here today. But it's why it's been years and years. And why we are not a rug pull is, I guess, what I should be saying. The production team's still very on board. Most people involved, which is largely Abe, Bridget Greenberg, and myself. We've had other friends help, but I won't name, but be attached and then detached. People who have given us great hookups at certain avenues, but it's it. So all this time, we've been trying to reassemble the chunk of change that we initially scripted, the version of the movie that you're familiar with, for, to make it even in a really, really scrappy way, in a really cost-effective way. But we just don't have it. And your kind crowdfunding chunk is not enough to do it. So the TLDR version I promised I will now dispense, which is that when we started the Seed and Spark, we had a bunch of money. One of our major investors ghosted us after the Seed and Spark campaign was successful, leaving us in limbo. We decided to try and fundraise in the intervening 2.5 years, can you believe it's been that long, to try and reach the budget we had originally conceived of the project as having. We were unable to do that. If you want the full story, I just gave it. What your crowdfunding chunk could do is make a movie a little along the lines of our first movie, Kill Me Now, which is a horror comedy. By that, I mean we could guerrilla make it by stealing stuff. And I don't mean stealing objects or equipment. I mean, like I said, but I'll expound upon it further now. My stance is I just want to spend time in this life making cool things with my friends, expressing things I believe are true and helpful and useful for my fellow human beings, and getting the art out there. I really miss making stuff. So I'd like to use the money to make something. I didn't want to act in this, but I will if it gives us one of our lead actors for free. I've talked to other people you would know the names of, Cody would be interested in helping me massage the script and somehow being like, there's people who would do great work for us for free, from acting to writing to editing to producing. Abe and I can edit for free, blah, blah, blah. This starts to stack up the intangible amount of budget you actually have, because these are things, right, we were going to pay other talented people to do, but I guess we could do it all ourselves like we did with Kill Me Now. Now, the key thing in Kill Me Now that we lack now, is a location, and it determines everything. Kill Me Now was directed by our good friend Travis Long, who we're eternally grateful for. He took us all to his hometown, Effingham, Illinois, where it's such a small town, he was the king of the town. I kid you not. Everyone came out to watch us film. We were the front page of the local newspaper. They were also excited to be a part of a film that we could use the jailhouse. We could use the warehouse. People in the town would, our actors were young and scrappy. Beck Bennett would shoot a 30-hour shift with us while he's falling asleep, which is illegal. And I can't even get that dude on the phone these days. But all these things aligned for us to make a movie we literally can't with the amount of money we're sitting on. As always, we turn to the fans, not to guide us because it's going to be too much hassle if we make this a poll or whatever, but just to say thank you. Like, ever since I was a kid, all I've wanted to do is make movies. Like my father before me, in fact. It extends beyond me. And Abe feels similarly. And we've only ever gotten to do it through Cracked, through a few key people like Jack O'Brien, Daniel O'Brien, who really have believed in us and supported us, and through actual human being fans who think our work is useful. So it's still just us and you. You're the only people who consistently have our back, so we want to have your back. I finally broke Bridget and Abe, and they're willing to do the cheapo version, but not as a bottle episode. Not as the thing I said where we're trapped in an elevator or where it's all in a car, which can be done and it's great, but Abe needs to bring some of his craft to this, and we need to have a couple grips, and we need to feed them and things like that. So we're still short on the money we need to even make a zero budget, but we're getting there, and that's why it's the right time for me to make this update. So that is to say that we're looking for locations, largely in the American Southwest, because as soon as it's outside that radius, it costs us to move every single actor and house them and lodge them and food there, that we can own, that the people there would find it pleasant and exciting to be a part of our experience. And we're going to adapt the script to that location, period. If you have anything you think could work, I'm interested in hearing from you. The closer you are to the Los Angeles region, the more money you save us in terms of shipping actors out. But Cody and I have talked about a version of this film that would take place in a Goodwill store. If someone out there owns not a Goodwill store, but like a store that they would let us shoot in overnight, and they can because they own the building, or they, anything like this. If you're a rustic person who's a big fan who lives on a ranch, and if we stayed in hotels for a couple weeks in your town and shot on your ranch and wrote it to be that it takes place on a ranch, but you'd actually let us be in your way, be a hassle, be a problem, take over the space, film sequences there and not be in a rush. We're very clean. And we're looking for people who think that would be fun and exciting to be a part of the experience, or as a way to contribute, of course, and just get this damn thing made. Anyone who's watching this or hearing this, if you're willing, reach out. We're at allthesmallbeans@gmail.com, or you can reach out via Seed and Spark, but Gmail is more reliable. Allthesmallbeans@gmail.com. And we're looking for if you live in a large house and you don't care if we fucked it up for 6 weeks, we just want to negotiate, or less than that, but then we could split the movie into 2 locations. We're actually going to nail locations that we can own first with cool people who have the right to give us permission to shoot there. And we believe that with that puzzle piece in place, we can rewrite the script to be something cool that everyone will like and be happy about and glad we made. It will probably star some old crack folks because they'll work for criminally cheaply, which is going to be necessary. It might come at the topic from a different angle. We don't know yet. We know we want to make something funny, inclusive, empathy-driven, with lots of jokes and lots of heart, and as well still deliver on as many of the incentives as promised as we can possibly afford. But please, if you're willing, help us amplify this message. If you've got a friend of a friend or anyone comes to mind that you think they'd be interested in this situation or being part of the magic, so to speak, please let them know. Or if you yourself are hearing this and have a location at your disposal, reach out, let us know, and we're going to rewrite the film around that and make something. Let's get something made, especially because we've been fortunate enough to pick up a few smaller chunks of funding along the way. So we are sitting on an okay amount of money now, and we want to make something. That's what's happening now. As promised, I'm going to end with plugs or freebies or whatever you want to call them, which is just to say that it's been so long since we last spoke that if you've only been following this project through our Seed and Spark, you may not know I published and released a novel called The Climb. If you have any interest in a free copy of that, it's not available physically without costing me a lot of money, but there's a deluxe PDF as well as an audiobook. They normally cost $20. The money goes to me, the artist, directly. I read the audiobook, so factor in how my voice sounds into your decision. But if you want a freebie of The Climb, please reach out via Seed and Spark. Let me know who you are, collate with the fact that you gave, and that's just to tide you over. Or anything else in the Small Beans shop, patreon.com/smallbeans. There's a comic book in there, There's some podcast collections. There's a fun audio of a 10-part D&D campaign we did for Halloween last year. That's very fun and normally costs money to listen to. So anything you see and you want that will make it right, I'm more than happy to send your way if you just let me know that you got burned in the Papa Bear thing. But I will also say you weren't burned. It's not a rug pull. We appreciate your patience. We're going to make a thing now soon. Let us know if you've got locations you can offer. Reach out for freebies. Yeah, novel. Yeah. Podcast. If you listen to podcasts, Small Beans, that's us. So patreon.com/smallbeans. You don't have to pay anything to go look at everything that's free and find out more about all this. But that's everything, Papa Bear. Thank you again to everyone who's given so far and stuck with this journey. It's not over, believe it or not. And we're still making a movie.